Today I want to talk to you about posts. Posts are the guts of any site. A post is the content that you change or add to on a regular basis. Recall from older videos, the page is what we call menu items, and posts are the articles that go inside of a page. So if you look at a blog page, this is the page, and where it says blog page and the text underneath, that's what you see, that was entered on the page itself. But the blog post is actually a separate post that sits within the blog page. Now understand that the reason that that blog post knows to come to this page is because they both have the same category. And in this case, the category is called blog, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. Also understand that this picture is not a picture within the blog post, it's actually the featured image. Images that you put into the post will not show up there, and if you didn't have the featured image, that would show up blank. So the best way to look at this is for us to do a blog post. Let's go to the dashboard. On the dashboard, we're going to go to posts. Let's first quickly look at categories. This is where the categories are designed. In this case, we have categories of blog, industry, and product. And for the blog page, blog is the category that we're going to be using. So let's look at all of the posts. These are the names of the posts that are already in the system. Blog post is the one that you looked at, and this area just briefly tells you things like who wrote it and again what the category is, and you can see that the category there is blog. But let's make our own new post. Okay, let's just quickly look at the post page. There's an area for the title. There's an area for the content of the text, which would include pictures and text, and a very word-like menu item area where you can do bold and italics. You can have different styles like paragraph, heading 1, heading 2, some other things such as underline and justification. There are number and symbols as well. These little chains, they're for making hyperlinks. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. There's also an area for block quotes, and one important one, the more tag, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. And then these areas over here we're not going to discuss. They're part of WordPress, the WordPress template for this theme. They give you things you can do such as buttons and author bios and things like that, and we're going to do a separate video just on that. And then here on the right, let me scroll down a little bit. You can see this area over here says publish. Anything that is not published, no one will be able to see, but you'll be able to preview it before you publish it out to the web, which is the final step. You can see the area where there's categories. You can see an area where there's tags, and those tags tell Google and also search engines within your site where to find things. And then, as you can see at the bottom, is the featured image that I was talking about earlier. So let's do a post. I'm actually going to steal a post from a site called Gizmodo on the new Nikon 4 that just came out or is coming out. So I'm going to copy the title. Title, simple, just like any title. This is where it goes. And now I'm going to take the text, and you can write the text or you can grab text. Just be aware of copyright rules. You don't want to be copying other people's stuff verbatim if you don't at least give a link back and let people know that it was done in Gizmodo. You can change any of the text now, just like a word processor. You can add bold or italics and such. One of the things I usually like to do, as an example, is justify everything. I think it looks better on the site when it's justified, but that's certainly a matter of taste. Now, if you see these blue areas, these are hyperlinks. If you clicked on that, you would be taken to another page. The way that you can get rid of hyperlinks, if they're already in there, like if you were cutting and pasting like this, is just to use this little button right here, which is unlink. And now you can see there's no more hyperlink. But if you wanted to make a hyperlink, and as I suggested, if you're using or looking at someone else's articles, let's say we write originally published at Gizmodo, and then you go to the Gizmodo site, which I'm doing off screen, and copy its URL, the address of the article. And what I do now is I just highlight Gizmodo, tell it that I want to make a link, paste that link into the URL area. You can title it if you want. I'll just title it Nikon D4. And as you notice too here at the bottom, you don't have to just link to a URL on another page. You can link to other places within your site. So let's say you wanted to write contact us. You can actually take the contact us words and link it to your contact page rather than having to put in all the information. Okay, let's add the link. And as you can see, it now says publish this Gizmodo, and if you clicked on Gizmodo, you would go to the original article. Now let's go over to the side here and look at a couple other things. This area that's called Zemanta, that's a plugin that has some functionality that I do want to talk about, but I'm going to do that when we talk about plugins. So let's look at the area here where it says categories, and that's very simple. We want this to be on the blog page. The blog page has the blog category. So we click on that, and now this article will automatically show up on the blog page. Also note that you can have more than one category, more than one page. If I wanted this also to show up on the product page, then I would just click product. That way I could have it on both pages. Or if I wanted to change this from a blog to a product area, then I could just uncheck blog and check product. Over here is where you put tags. Tags are things that Google or your site wants to use in sort of an indexing sort of way. Since this was about Nikon, you certainly would want there to be Nikon and maybe D4. The plugin Zemanta has given you some suggestions. If you want to add any of these, you can just click on them. Nikon camera, Nikon D4, high definition video, and you can see that they end up here in the tags area. I also usually try to add a tag for my site name, because that way Google will always see it. In this case, it would be your site, and then you hit enter or add, and you can see that is in there. And the final step is to find the featured image. In this case, I've downloaded one already. I want you to notice that there's two other menu items at the top. From URL, that doesn't work for the featured images. And the media library, which holds all of the images. Once this image is uploaded, it will be in that media library, so you can use it on other pages. You could get rid of it on this page and use it on another page, and we'll go into the media library in depth later. So let's select the file. You can drag it in or you can select it. In this case, it's on my desktop, and I call it Nikon. I choose it. It brings it in and crunches it. Just as far as size and dimensions, they don't have to be that large for posts, but for featured images on pages that you're going to put into your front page slider, I recommend that they be larger, and we'll talk about that more when we're going into pages. All of this other information, don't worry about yet, we'll talk about it later, but this area, this link uses featured image is what we're looking for, so we click on that. It is now the featured image and shows down here at the bottom. Now if we want to see what this looks like before we publish it, just hit preview and another page will come up, and you can see this is what it actually looks like. So let me do one more thing before we publish it. Come back here to the posts. Now if I wanted to make a block quote, just so you can see what that might look like, generally I tend to do that if there's somebody actually has a quote or something that's very important that you want to know. But let's say we wanted this area to be highlighted. You can click on block quote, and while it only looks like an indent, if you then look at a new preview, come here to the other page, you can see that that area became a block quote. So I always find that effective. I wanted you to know about that. You can, if you don't see enough information in the area, you can use this arrow to click down. There's some other information here about excerpt and custom fields, and just ignore that for now. That'll be something we look at in a much later video. So I think this looks pretty good the way it is. So let's publish it. Okay, and it is now published. It shows the status is published, and the visibility is public. You can make some of these posts private so that only certain people that are members of your site can see them, but for our purposes we're leaving everything as public. And now let's actually go to the blog itself and take a look at what it looks like. And there you see your blog page and your new post. But if you notice, the entire post is there, unlike the post underneath, which just gives you just a little snippet. This is important because this is a fairly short blog post that we just did, but some of them can be a lot longer. And you really wouldn't want people coming to the blog page and scrolling down over and over to try and find information, or just viewing, because it would just be too long. And the idea of the blog page itself is to just have a little snippet, and if they like it, then, or they're interested in it, then they can click on the post and go to the actual page where all the information is. So in order to do that, we need to stop it somewhere. And let's say I wanted to stop it here after where it says without the camera choking up. So what you do is go back to the blog page, or blog post, sorry. You go back to the post, this one. You bring your cursor to the place that you want it to stop, and you click this little button here called the More tag. It inserts a line that says More. You would not see this in the actual post itself, but it does tell the WordPress blog page where to stop. And if we update that, and then go back and look at the blog page, you can see where it stopped. And then if you were going to look at the actual post, you click on that, and now you see the entire post. So let's stop it there. In the next video, we'll be talking about pages, so please come back for that.